Hi and welcome to the Demystifying Mental Toughness podcast for athletes, coaches and professionals who want to achieve their goals faster. I'm David Charlton and I'll be sharing proven methods from leading athletes, coaches and experts that will help you get the most from your talent. Today's show is sponsored by Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gosforth near Newcastle upon Tyne and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support and excellent rehabilitation services. Hi and a warm welcome to episode 47 of Demystifying Mental Toughness. And as I record this, the sun is shining, the clocks have changed here in the UK. We appear to be moving out of the lockdown. Sport has opened up. Golf courses are open. Youngsters can get out there and play football, play rugby and various other sports. So with a bit of luck, hopefully we're moving in the right direction now. And for sports fans, golfers especially, you'll be aware that right now the US Masters is being played. It's being played at Augusta National, an amazing golf course situated in Georgia in the United States. Augusta has got beautiful azalea flowers, rolling slopes, and yes, on Sunday, the winner will be the person who strikes the ball well, who positions the ball well on the right spots on the greens. But importantly, that player will also have mental toughness, and that player will be able to deal with pressure, especially the pressure of playing a major golf tournament on the back nine. They'll be able to control their emotions and remain confident and upbeat, even when things potentially go wrong. And a huge element of this will be controlling their fine motor skills on the greens. And these greens at Augusta can be very, very fast. They can be very, very firm. The character of each green can be very different. Each green might vary with speed and firmness due to the dramatic slopes found at Augusta National. So in this episode, I'm going to build on Andy Gorman's recent episode where he talked about putting with confidence, and I'm going to look at it from a different angle where we're really going to be focusing and honing in on how you as a golfer can trust your skills on the greens putting under pressure, just like the winner on Sunday will do. Okay, so I'm going to backtrack a little bit for the listeners who aren't necessarily familiar with golf. So golfers generally use a special club called a putter when they find themselves on finely cut grass or greens. They then go on to put the golf ball very softly in comparison to a full shot. That's right, they softly caress the ball close to or ideally into the hole. So a great fine degree of finesse is required. And the distance between the golf ball and the hole ultimately goes on to determine how hard the golfer seeks to strike the ball. And this distance also determines how far back the putter, which is held in the golfer's hands, is swung back and through. So Jim Harnett, a recognised PGA golf coach, suggests that one of the easiest ways to think about how to control your distance, how to control the distance of taking the putter back, is to think about for every foot that the ball is going to travel to the hole, you take the putter back about an inch. So for argument's sake, if you have a 10-foot putt, you would take the club back, the putter back 10 inches from the ball and then back through 10 inches. So as you only take the golf club back a short distance in comparison to a full shot, you would imagine that putting is a relatively simple task. You don't have any water nor sand to worry about, at least most of the time. You don't get bad lies like you do on the fairways or on the rest of the course. So yeah, putting is very simple. Oh, it should be anyway. Putting can be very, very complex to some individuals and play havoc with many a golfer's mind. Here's some examples here, a couple of quotes. This one came from Mac O'Grady. When I putt, my emotions collide like tectonic plates. It's left my memory circuits full of scars that won't heal. Then there's the great Sam Snead. The three things I fear most in golf are lightning, Ben Hogan, and a downhill putt. So yeah, many golfers have a deep hatred of putting. They get very, very anxious when they approach the green because they're well aware that if you want to shoot low scores on the golf course on a regular basis and play to your golfing potential, that you must putt well. You must hole putts consistently under pressure. There's no hiding place on the greens. You're going to be exposed no matter what if you can't putt or you don't have the mental strength, the confidence in your ability. You're going to have putts from 2 foot, from 3 foot, from 4 foot, and they might be for birdies, for pars or bogeys, or other scores. Hopefully not. Putting is an unforgivable part of golf, and it can wreck some great scorecards. So I'm going to talk you through now some questions, some ideas which can really help you with your putting. Firstly, I'm wondering, what story do you tell yourself about putting? Here are some examples from some former clients. Harry, who plays professionally, he says, putting is something that I have to do. I'd much rather avoid it. If my ball is within 10 feet, I'm instantly on edge. Rosie, a 2-handicap golfer, if I'm under par and have birdie putts late in the round that are makeable, I often go on the defensive and worry about leaving them short, and then end up just rolling them up to the hole. John, an 8-handicap golfer, anything inside 5 feet, I want the ground to swallow me up. I want to be off the green as quick as possible, especially if there's people watching me. So I wonder, do any of these golfers enjoy the challenge of putting? What is it that they're telling themselves? I'd certainly say no to that question. They definitely don't enjoy the challenge. They talk in negative terms about the different aspects of putting. And this is the first step that you need to look at if you're going to address your putting, if you're going to stand over putts confidently when under pressure. And I can guarantee the person who goes on to win the Masters on Sunday will certainly not be thinking that about putting. They will be looking to enjoy the challenge, and they'll see it as a challenge to try and hole as many putts as they possibly can, whatever the circumstance. Now, secondly, when I've questioned golfers about their equipment this time, they've come up with a variety of responses. So yeah, this is the question. Does your putter fill you with a feeling of confidence? Now, Alan, a 7-handicap golfer, looked at me quizzically when I asked him that. A strange question, he said. I've had my putter about 10 years, possibly longer. It's something I've never thought of. And replacing it, well, I don't know, it works some of the time. Emma, a professional golfer. I change my putter at least twice a month. I'm always searching for something to make a difference. Then there was Nigel, an 11-handicap golfer. My putter, well, it's my putter. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. So can we say that these golfers love their putter? No chance. Not one of them talks about their putter in glowing terms. I can't imagine they take their putter to bed and give it a hug. Definitely not. Nigel mentions the word love, but it appears that he has a love-hate relationship with his putter. Then you've got Alan and Emma, who are at different parts of the spectrum. Alan is very, very comfortable, possibly too comfortable, too accepting, because regardless of whether he puts well or puts badly, he remains in possession of that putter and just accepts this is the way it is. Then you've got Emma, who seems to be constantly searching for the quick fix, constantly looking for something, so never has time to fall in love with her putter. So, what about you? Do you love your putter? I'd like you to consider that. And on the greens, you're going to be thrown into various different situations. Certainly the Masters champion is going to have to deal with lots of different slopes, lots of different pressure situations. So here's a question for you. Do you trust yourself on the putting green no matter what situation is thrown at you? Now, Jen, a 5 handicap golfer, told me if there's a crowd watching, on the last few holes, I really don't want a short putt. I get so nervous. I nearly wet myself. Yeah, believe it or not. So what Jen would do is she would lag a putt up to the hole. She certainly wouldn't race it past. Then we had Paul, a professional tour golfer. On long putts, I'm relaxed and I have a great imagination and feel. Now at short putts, it's different. It's very different. I'm under pressure. I tighten up. I often just roll the ball into the hole, which causes me to miss more than I should do. Then there's Claire, a 12 handicap golfer. If I have a good score going, I worry about knocking putts too far past the hole. So I'm wondering, what is the common denominator here? All 3 golfers there certainly do not trust themselves under pressure when they're putting. And for me, the common denominator here is fear. Each golfer has straight away told themselves a story why they should not be confident. They focus an awful lot on the outcome. They worry about other people. And it doesn't have to be that way. Here are some more examples. And I'm wondering, what do you say to yourself on the greens when you are under pressure playing the last few holes? Let's consider in a tournament or in a competition when you're playing well. Jeff, the professional golfer, says, I'm in my own head so much. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. But if I miss what I see as an easy putt, I get really angry. Then there was Ray, the 4 handicap golfer. I'm always worried about my putting stroke. I stand at the edge of the green. I'm on edge. I must have at least 20 practice strokes while my playing partners are putting out. I'm telling myself something technical all of the time. I must have my hands forward. I must turn my shoulders or something like that. Then there's Amy, the 7 handicap golfer. I get so nervous. I keep saying, don't leave it short. Don't knock it too far past. Don't mess up this chance. You might not get it. You might not get this opportunity for a little while. So these comments I've heard many times, and personally I've experienced them a lot when I was younger. I'd often be that golfer who would stand over my ball at the corner of the green, perfecting my stroke, while telling myself I had to make the next putt. I had to set up perfectly. I had to make sure that I gave it a chance. I put so much pressure on myself. It was crazy. No wonder I often jerked a putt under pressure. No wonder I'd maybe knock it 3 foot past and have a rush of blood. Or, annoyingly, and this is so annoying for all golfers, I'd leave it short on the lip under pressure. And it certainly appears that Jeff, Ray and Amy have the similar problems there, similar challenges. They struggle to have a quiet mind when they're approaching putts under pressure. They struggle to control their emotions and not get too excitable. So my last question for you now to consider would be, what influences your scores the most when you're putting? That's right, what influences your scores the most when you're putting? And this question, I could write an essay on. Everybody comes up with a very different type of response. And it's vitally important, this question. So I'm going to give you a few examples again. Henrietta, a 30 handicap golfer, stated her posture. Andy, a golf instructor, mentions the start line is most important. Andy Gorman, another golf instructor, would probably agree with both of those things. We discussed this recently on a podcast. Then there's Lucy, a 3 handicap golfer. I must be feeling good to putt well. John, a professional golfer, he states that holing out is the most important thing. And then Amy, another professional golfer, talks about lag putting really helping her. You've got to be great at lag putting to be a good putter. So these comments, I would say, go on to show that putting despite it being relatively simple a skill, in contrast certainly to the more complex full swing where the whole body's involved, is very, very personal. That's right, putting is unique. And let's face it, as individuals, as people, we're all very, very unique too. It might be, as far as a motor skill goes, very similar to snooker, to darts, in that it's a small movement. But there's a complex blend there of technical, psychological, emotional, and fine motor skills which have to be thought about. And when we look at our scorecards, we'll all notice that around about 40% of all shots will be from on the green. They will be using the putter. So as I mentioned earlier, there's no hiding place. So yes, having a good start line, reading greens well, having a good setup, posture, stroking the ball consistently, yes, they are very, very important components of great putting. Yet also, you've got to be able to think very clearly and decisively. Certainly, the person who wins on Sunday in the US Masters is going to be that guy who does think clearly, who does think decisively, especially under pressure. How often have you seen Tiger in the past, or even Bryson DeChambeau recently win tournaments when he struck the ball averagely, but he's putted fantastically well? Putting is such a key element of golf. So after listening to me talk about putting and all of the different facets there and the different stories that we tell ourselves, how we get in our own way, I'm going to challenge you now to try and rewrite your story. So in 2021, let's make it a successful year on the greens. So how are you going to do that? Well, you can choose to take control of the thoughts that are going on in your head. You don't have to be held at the mercy of the old, outdated patterns of thinking. So what I'd like you to do, for a period, let's go for 2 weeks. I would like, and I recommend you, that you get a journal. And I'd like you to journal down your thoughts on a daily basis about your putting performance. You know, journaling is a common tool that I've talked about in past episodes, but it's also a common tool that many sports psychologists recommend that you do. And it can help you overcome 1,000,001 different blocks and challenges. There's so much evidence out there about journaling that it can really, really enhance performance if done well. And often people just don't know where to start when it comes down to journaling. So I'm going to try and help you with this. And I'm going to highlight some important questions for you to consider. So firstly, I'd like you to think about what it is that you think about when it comes down to putting and what sort of label you give yourself. So do you see yourself as a great putter? Do you see yourself as a good putter who's getting better? Do you blow hot and cold? One day you're great, the next you're absolutely awful. Are you an average putter? Do you see yourself as a poor putter? Or even a terrible putter? And this is really, really important, firstly, to understand where you see yourself, because that's going to help you overcome some of these challenges and help you move on. So it's going to help you actually move from good to great, from hot and cold to good, average to hot and cold, and so on. And now what I'd like you to do, once you've got that label there, I would like you to think about the emotion that this thought, that this label actually conjures up. Think about different situations that you come across on the putting green. You know, the average putter might fill their heads with frustration or embarrassment. You might sort of see yourself on the greens in different situations, maybe when people are watching, and feel that embarrassment of missing a short putt when there's people watching or letting down your playing partners. Just consider what emotions it evokes for you. It might be the complete opposite, where you see yourself as a good putter and you're pretty confident anyway, but then maybe you do falter under pressure. So the next thing to consider is action. So you've thought about what type of putter you are. You've thought about the emotion putting evokes in you. So now what are you going to do with this? Does it mean that you're going to go out, seek proactively some regular putting coaching, maybe once a month with a top quality coach who can really help you in the long term and improve the situation on the greens? Or maybe you're just going to be reactive like a lot of golfers, and when you come across a problem, then you'll either go to YouTube and seek out ways to fix it, or maybe you will at that point go and see a coach. Personally, I would say be proactive. Think about how important putting is in order to achieve your goals, to lower your scores, and be proactive and get some regular putting coaching. It doesn't have to be once a month. It might be every other month, so every 2 months or 3 months, but certainly do something about it. That is the way that you're going to improve. Now, here's a question as well for you to consider in this journal. Do you enjoy the challenge of putting? And then 3 more questions. Do you trust yourself on the putting green, no matter what situation is thrown at you? Please consider those 2 questions. Think about the story that you tell yourself in your head, different situations that you encounter which can cause you problems. And then 2 more questions. What do you say to yourself on the greens when you're under pressure? Perhaps at the start of a round or playing the last few holes. That's really, really important to consider. And if you do this, maybe if you play 3-4 times in the next couple of weeks, and you do this on a regular basis, you're going to really understand some of the things that you think, you feel, and then some of the daft, silly behaviours that come into it where you get in your own way. Last one would be, what influences your scores the most when you are putting? What are your thoughts on this? Is it purely technical things? Is it mental things? Are you actually fearful? Are you putting a block there? Is it you get too excited? Or you're frightened? Is your grip too tense? Or, like I've mentioned before, is it your start line? Is it your aim? Is it your eye line? Really consider what influences your scores the most on the greens. This is really, really important for you to be able to take action and improve your confidence levels. Which takes me on to the eyes. I'm going to offer now a practical tip which can really, really help you on the greens. And it's something that top putters do really well. We're talking about the eyes there and how they use their eyes on the green. Now, Carl Morris and Gary Nicol suggest in their book, The Lost Art of Putting, that golfers may feel a lot more confident and they're more likely to trust their ability if they concern themselves with what they want the ball to do, not what they actually want their body, their hands and their shoulders to do. So how do we go about this? Well, by using the eyes cleverly, you can certainly free yourself up, especially on those shorter putts when people often become really, really tight and worry so much about the outcome or the possible putt coming back, that 3-footer, that 4-footer. So this leads me nicely into like pre-shot routines and the use of the eyes. So naturally, when you arrive on the green, the good putter is likely to be having a good look around from various different angles at the slopes, the undulations. They're going to be judging the green, judging the distance from a variety of angles, like I've mentioned. And surely, and certainly the best putters on the planet, the leading players at Augusta this week, will have this in common. On each and every hole, each and every putt, they're going to be using their eyes really, really well. When they're standing behind the ball, just before they're about to maybe take some practice strokes, or just before they're going to set up and go behind the ball, they're going to be using their eyes very, very cleverly. And one thing Bob Rotella and Dr. Bob Winters at the University of Virginia found out when they were doing sports vision screenings, which measure the eye muscle positions that great putters get into, well, and not so great putters for that matter, they found that when looking at the hole, that their eyes, the eyes of great putters, didn't tell them exactly where the hole was, that it was a little bit further away. Basically, this is really, really important for the average golfer, because what it means is great putters rarely leave the ball short like the average golfer does. So what I would say is, my advice here would be in your pre-shot routine, if you're someone who often leaves the ball short, if you're a little bit cautious, then play around, experiment with your eye gaze. Look at a spot around 6 inches behind the hole, up to about 18 inches behind the hole, and practice with your gaze looking at that spot. Practice in your pre-shot routine looking at a spot in that manner. I've noticed when I've done this personally and also with various different clients that it really has helped them to start judging distances very, very slightly differently. And also it's helped them improve their feel and be more aggressive. And another thing good putters do with their eyes an awful lot is that they look at the last third of the putt, replaying it time and time again. They'll replay it in slow motion. They might even speed it up. They'll see the ball traveling into the hole. They may even reverse it the other way. So they see the ball actually going into the hole and then reversing back on them. They're taking into account contours. They'll do it in real time. They're looking at the speed. So the way the speed of the ball is traveling to the hole. And they'll do this in real detail. Some players find this very, very difficult and they just see things in straight lines. But I can assure you with practice, this is a skill that can really drive and improve your fine motor skills, which, let's face it, is so important, especially when you're under pressure. It's so easy to get caught up today in instruction, in over-instruction with the amount of information which is available for people online. The number of tips that you get on YouTube is crazy. And when it comes down to putting, how you use your eyes can often get forgotten about, because all people are thinking about is hands, arms, shoulders, posture. And although this is important, can mean that you can become overly controlling and fearful when you're putting. So certainly really consider how you use your eyes. It can help you free your stroke up. I know if I was playing foursomes with someone and they had a 3-foot putt, my partner had a 3-foot putt to win a match on the 18th hole, the person I'd want to be partnering is the person who uses their eyes well, not the person who has that internal focus, who's thinking about hands, arms, or shoulders. It would be that person who uses their eyes well each and every time, because that's what good putters do. So now, to finish this podcast episode, I hope you found it insightful. I hope it's built on the more technical things that Andy Gorman talked about a few weeks ago. I hope it helps you ask the question, how do I use my eyes when I'm putting? Have I got lazy? Have I got comfortable with the way I use my eyes? Have I got bogged down in over-instruction? And it also helps you to just think about how over-instruction can stop the flow of the transition between the practice stroke and striking the ball, or the transition when you're standing over the ball and then taking the putter back. And these factors are so important when it comes down to just having some trust in your ability. So please, feel free to get in touch with me. Let me know your thoughts on this particular podcast, on this topic. Let me know how you get on with the journaling, with the experimenting of how you use your eyes on the greens. You'll find in the show notes the questions that I mentioned and the tips, should you need to go back to them. And also on the website, I've got a range of resources there, be it in blogs or in podcasts for golfers. And lastly, and importantly, if you want to play golf with a smile on your face this season, you really want to kick on the greens, or again, with the game as a whole, simply get in touch with me. Drop me an email at info@sport-excellence.co.uk. I'd love to have a chat with you, how I can help you. I work with golfers from youngsters all the way up to top professionals. I'm based in the northeast of England, but I'm also available online via Zoom, where I support a number of golfers as far away as the States and Australia, where we use Zoom and we get tripods set up on putting greens on practice facilities. That's how we go about it. And it's I suppose that's the one thing about the lockdown and the pandemic. It's helped people use technology in different ways, and it's certainly helped me help different golfers in that way. So till next time, and a special announcement which will be coming at that point. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your golf. I'd like to give a big thanks to today's sponsors, Functional Intelligent Training, who are a sports injury clinic located in Gosforth, near Newcastle upon Tyne, and specialise in athlete development, nurturing future champions, strength and conditioning support, and excellent rehabilitation services. Thank you for listening to Demystifying Mental Toughness today. To sign up for tips and advice to help you be the best that you can be, go to www.sport-excellence.co.uk and sign up to the Mental Edge newsletter.